from The Athletic. Had a wonderful little round table yesterday, or I think 2 days ago, actually, on the Sacramento Kings. Always good to plug in with him as we do each and every Thursday at 8 o'clock. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, gentlemen. I appreciate the, fingers up, shout out. We got to support the old alma mater.
Yes.
Excited for this weekend.
Were you at the game last night?
I was there, my friends. I was there. I saw you were there too, correct?
I was.
That was a pretty good. You put your photog hat on. That was a pretty good picture you took of the old G1 center with the beam and nicely centered right in the middle. I was impressed by that. That's not your picture?
That was King's PR. I
Stolen.
I stole their.
Wow.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for people's phone backgrounds. But
wow, good journalistic practices there. Way to credit the Kings.
I did credit them by attending and cheering last night, and I hope that's enough for them. Sam, you've been covering this team going all the way back when you were a wee lad at the Sacramento Bee doing the beat stuff, and now you were responsible for many teams. But you always do have a fond eye, journalistically speaking, towards Sacramento, and the energy there last night, Sam. When was the last time you felt that?
It was crazy. My buddy and colleague, Anthony Slater, who you kind of alluded to the piece we wrote the other day, he's been writing about the Kings a decent amount, which I think the fans have enjoyed. So Slater's sitting next to me on press row, and I bring him up because, loud is loud, and I certainly would have noticed, but he still has a bit of kind of a new, fresh set of eyes on this environment because he's not from the area.
Right.
And so to see his reaction, where we talked about it late in the game, he's like, this is easily on the short list of loudest buildings, right now already. And even with some of the ups and downs of the team. And, I think because of the history of Halliburton coming back and Buddy and the Pacers reunion matchup, that was part of it. But man, it was popping and the people are excited. And I actually left right after the game and I did not do post game, which also gives you a taste of the energy just right outside the building, right after the win. And it's something else to not only see the excitement, but then it continues to be a spectacle when people are, their necks are completely at a 180-degree angle looking up at the sky to make sure they see the beam. It's a little phenomenon for sure.
Sam, so now that 20 games has happened, certainly not the end-all, be-all, but, I think everybody wanted to see this team play more than 5 and 10 games, and what do they really have? For me, some of the telling games have been even their losses, how competitive they've been. But what's your true read right now on what you've seen from this team through 20?
Yeah, I know they're tired of hearing about it. I don't blame them. They just, I'm sure, wish they could wipe those first 4 away because, then they'd be kind of cooking with grease. They look good. They haven't played a bad game in a very long time, even with their losses. You know what I mean? And that's an important development that, is starkly different from last season and so many seasons before. The offense, obviously, you're talking really the historic levels. I mean, the Boston is obviously above them by a bit on the offensive end, but they're second. Well, they dropped a 5th in offensive rating. They're second in scoring. So the offense is high octane, fun, deep shooting, versatility, complementary pieces. The defense has to keep getting better, and it has a bit lately. I think they are legitimately a very competitive team, and it's going to be, I think for Kings fans, the motto and the message is just buckle up, because I don't think, I do feel confident they're going to remain competitive. And then, the standings and the whole playoff chase, I think it's going to be absolutely, an all season type of thing.
Sam, I don't know if you have any info on this or not. So if not, just philosophize, if you will, for a second. The one thing that's in the back of a lot of Kings fans' heads really is looking at the success right now, looking at everything that's going on, and also remembering things from the past that have not gone right. Monte McNair is still on a lame duck contract. And so, A, are you hearing anything about that? And B, can you be a lawyer for the Kings and tell me why you think that hasn't happened yet?
It's an interesting one, because most of the time, if you add in these sorts of circumstances and ingredients, you would have, an anxious maybe even bitter GM who doesn't understand why he doesn't have an extension, and then and some sort of acrimony, and that's just not the case here. It is. I find it interesting that all parties involved seem to have been kind of comfortable with the idea of we just got to play and got to win. I do think the more winning that happens, and even with this early season surge they've had, that the odds have shot through the roof regarding the idea of, I think Monty eventually sticking around. But I think it's almost been like a little bit of a hat tip to that tortured history, if that makes any sense, where it's like, if you go back to when Vlade Divac got his extension, you could argue in hindsight that it was, a little quick. They had a little success, and then it's like, hey, let's just give them the bag. And I don't blame them for Vivek for taking his time here, because this franchise has reached the point where it's results only is the only thing that matters. So they're in a good place. Monty has not been, stomping his feet, banging down doors. He's just been working, and he keeps telling people, the rest will take care of itself. And I think it will.
Yeah. So you do think, Sam, it's just a matter of time then when that happens for him?
I do. Yeah. Personally.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, that is good.
It's a great sign.
Cross finger.
Yeah. Last night, obviously one of the storylines was one of the big ones coming in was the return of Buddy Hield, the return of Tyrese Halliburton, Sabonis going against his old team. Kind of on the Pacers side of things, obviously they had a rough night, but they have to be thrilled with what they've seen with Tyrese. What are you hearing kind of league-wide on his development, certainly Buddy being there, and other people's opinions maybe of that trade now almost not quite a year later, but, since the trade has happened?
Well, I mean, to that question, Jay, last night was such an interesting game because it's 1 of 82. It shouldn't matter all that much, but this is also why we love sports, like the teeter-totter of emotions, right? Like if they lose that game last night, the mood is really bad in town. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because of the history. It'd be 4 in a row, and because of losing to Tyrese and Buddy, and obviously that didn't happen. And so on the Pacers side, though, they're still feeling good. I did go to their shoot-around yesterday morning and honestly enjoyed the heck out of myself. We got a chance to talk to Rick Carlisle for a while and talk to Buddy for a while, talk to Tyrese briefly. They're ecstatic with Tyrese and his play. Obviously, excited to build around him. Buddy was in a pretty zen-like place when it comes to not only enjoying his Pacers experience, but just letting the rest of it unfold in terms of whether or not he'll get traded at the deadline. Lakers obviously have been tied to him forever. And then, Rick Carlisle being a guy who's not just a head coach, he's got a massive voice in the front office and is, kind of building that roster with their GM, Kevin Pritchard. And Rick, he wasn't showing his hand at all in terms of what they're going to do next couple of months, but did kind of acknowledge that the winning has kind of just made things easy, where they see these two paths where if there's something that makes sense for the long term, of course they're going to look at it. But they, in Indiana, it's a little bit like Sacramento. Like folks just want something to be excited about and enjoy. And those Pacers fans are excited about this group.
Sam Amick of The Athletic joining us. You can go to theathletic.com, download the app, do all that stuff. They always have phenomenal deals. I think it was like a quarter for 5 years or something around Christmas. I saw. I'd happily pay my $10 a month. That's fine. And you get phenomenal coverage for twice the price, even if you had to. Sam, I don't know what you have coming up on your writing schedule. And, we never want to tell you how to do your job, but have you thought about maybe writing something that says the Kings, as of last night, they have officially won the trade? It's over. There's no debate. That ended it. That's it.
You're getting a big laugh out of me, man. Absolutely not. Because, you
have readers in Indiana. They've
got them in. No, I'm serious. Like, they have to make the playoffs. Like,
yes, they do.
It's all because it doesn't, I keep defending them. I get it. I don't mind going for the playoffs because this, they got to get this monkey off their back, but there's not nearly as long a runway here with this plan as there would have been if you prioritize Tyrese. And that's the scrutiny and the criticism. And that means not only you got to make the playoffs, but Domantas Sabonis has to be he's playing his tail off, but he's got to also be a long-term piece of the puzzle here. You know what I mean? So a long ways to go there, but it feels like a win-win at this point, and we will see where it goes. But no, I'm not writing that story, my friend.
I know, Sam, the other day Phoenix was here, and you were talking to Booker. I saw you talking to him. He went for 51 again yesterday, 44 the other day. How great and efficient is he right now, especially without Chris Paul? He's got to be one of the leaders for that MVP race.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes on the writing side, you're happy because you do a piece or a story or an interview, and then you hope that the current events like make the optics, kind of fit and people want to read it. And the night we talked, he drops 44. He kind of, I asked him about MVP and he kind of grinned a little bit, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not even in that race, because he does feel overlooked a bit still. And I enjoyed the heck out of talking to him, and shamelessly would encourage folks to read that because I thought he was great. But then I look at my laptop last night at the Kings game, and, I see the box score, and it's like, my goodness, 20 out of 25. I mean, it was 51 points, and I was legitimately on press row complaining about a guy that I like quite a bit, Monty Williams, the Suns coach, because he pulled them pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've decided I'm in that camp where it's like these players are just insanely talented. And Klay Thompson comes to mind too, when he scored 60 in 3 quarters, and then Steve Kerr pulled him. Like, just let these dudes cook. He had 51 early in the 4th quarter, and they were up big, and so he didn't play much down the stretch. But an efficient 51, he's absolutely in the MVP discussion. And the Suns, despite everything they went through in the summer with the Robert Sarver situation, DeAndre Ayton's contract, and Jay Crowder deciding, it's not a good fit, he doesn't want to play there anymore. Like, you look up and they're still on top of the Western Conference like they were last year.
I have him neck and neck with both Fox and Sabonis for MVP, so we're kind of on the same page.
Oh, that was you at
Yeah.
the Kings game last night.
Yeah. MVP.
All-Star is not enough for De'Aaron anymore.
No.
You're just going for MVP.
MVP.
There's not 2 MVP awards, by the way.
I would like to see Fox and Sabonis split it. I would like to see 2 All-Stars out of both of them, and also 6th Man of the Year, Malik Monk.
And Coach of the Year.
Oh my
Coach
Lord!
of the Year.
Did you guys see the pregame press conference with Mike Brown about that?
Yes, we did. Something launched yesterday, methinks. I don't know how organic all that was, but I'm here for it.
Well, but why? I know we got to go, but why did Mike put his feet on the table? I was very confused because Mark Spears of ESPN, Anscape had joked about, whether or not Mike had socks on. I didn't understand the Malik Monk tie-in because next thing I know, the head coach of the Kings is, showing his foot undergarment, I guess you'll call it.
Yes.
And it was quite a scene. The table almost got pushed off the podium. There was a lot just to give Malik his little moment in the spotlight.
Is Mike Brown getting too comfortable with early success? Read that and more from Sam Amick on the Athletic. We'll see. We'll see.
You know what? Go rip a few more pictures from the Kings.
We'll see you next Thursday. That's Sam Amick.